Good morning, everybody.
Hi. Here we are.
Here we are again for another episode of our lecture, Why Beauty Matters. Yeah,
More than ever.
More than ever.
This is our weekly get-together. It's nice to have you with us again, and we'll try to bring you some new information, interesting information, lift your spirits in these crazy times.
I'm Fabrizio Billiotti. And
I'm
Richard Jones.
Richard Jones.
As we used to say, we are teachers at the Millennium Language Center of Faculdade Trilogica Keppe Pacheco.
Yep.
And all the subjects that we are talking about in our lectures, we also bring to our classes, English classes, and also our courses. We have also post-graduation courses in leadership, and also in Portuguese, conflicts management.
Do you remember that great Giotto fresco that you were showing about envy? Yeah. I don't know if you remember that from you watch it. If you remember that from a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
But Fabrizio found these great frescoes of this great Italian painter named Giotto, and one of them was about envy. And you know, Fabrizio, I showed that in a reading group I do with a bunch of American clients, some Canadians too, and they were really impressed by that because they found they could understand envy through the artistic expression. Somehow there's something that happens when we use art. It helps us to understand things. You know, it's really interesting. Years ago when I watched Amadeus, I was watching it, and in the movie Amadeus, they show Salieri being totally trastornado with Mozart's genius. And I remember after the movie, Fabrizio saying, I have to read some more about Mozart to see if I could understand what was going on. Because it didn't make sense to me. Salieri loved Mozart, and he wanted to destroy him at the same time. I couldn't understand that. It didn't make any sense. And it wasn't until many years later when I read Dr. Keppe's books that I started so that's what envy is, right?
Yeah.
In the art, they show it. They don't always explain it, but they demonstrate this. It's very beautiful, this in art, beauty, creativity.
Yeah, this is interesting, this example of Salieri and Mozart, even if the citizens of Salieri's city, I don't remember the name of the city.
It's probably not really true.
We're not so
not so impressed.
By the movie, but anyway, it's very interesting this aspect to show this pathology of envy, because Dr. Keppe always says envy is like an unconscious attack against the goodness, the truth and the beauty in life. So we have really many examples of this in our society, and especially also in art. We were talking a little bit last week about modern art, etc. And guys, when we speak about modern art, we are not like attacking modern art. I want to make it clear. We are trying to bring some elements that, according also to the Keppian science, have been lost. Yeah, so trying to bring these elements back to consciousness, and we will talk a little bit today about this.
Because these values have not been lost only in art. I mean, that's the thing, or in aesthetics. Remember, last week we were showing this good government, bad government. You can see that the idea of government linked to virtues. That idea doesn't exist anywhere today either. So we're trying to rescue some of those correct things from the past and bring them into modern art. This would be the ideal, wouldn't it?
Yes, exactly. And also because, anyway, for example, let's take an example. Doing good. Yeah, isn't it? This is a good example.
I heard something about
like
that.
Like the Boy Scouts. The good action of the day, anyway.
Yeah.
And it looks like something like, I don't know, something old-fashioned. But there was some wisdom behind this idea of doing good, the importance of doing good. And Dr. Keppe, also in his book, The Trilogical Metaphysics, speaks a lot and writes actually a lot about this pure action action? What is the pure action, the good action, the importance of good action? And when Dr. Keppe links this to arts, he says, he writes that art should be at least like pure action, is action when the painter paints, when the musician plays, showing, as we have already said, this connection that we have with the divine. So this is very important to bring these elements back to art, and not all this relativism that has invaded all areas of our society. And
or anything goes, right? I'm an artist, so I'm going to, like John Lennon did, I'm going to sit on a stage in a bag. That's my art expression. Okay, but what does that have to do with the purpose of art, you know? So an artist can do what he wants, but if you want to be connected to the purpose of art, it must be to bring some consciousness, not just an expression from the artist, but something of value for the audience. And this is missing, I think, a lot in the mentality of our art today.
And not only focusing, for example, mainly on the artist, his will, but also trying to bring something universal that can bring some relief also in our life, because we live in a society that is full of problems, full of difficulties, and we know it's not necessary to say more about this. But this is important. So art has also this function to relink the human being with this goodness, truth, and beauty that comes from the Creator. This is something divine, and should be expressed somehow through work of art. I'd like to start with our slides today. I took a chapter, an excerpt from a chapter of this book, Trilogical Metaphysics, and I really recommend you to read this book, because it's really, really important to understand many of these aspects. So, Richard, would you like to read the title, please?
There is pure act, transcendental, and rejection of pure act, which is illness. What to say about that?
So when Dr. Keppe speaks about pure action, speaks about good action, and this is the way to relink ourselves to this divine element.
Pure would be connected to the source of life. The way the universe was made, the way the universe functions. You know, everything in nature works together to bring balance, harmony, success, if you want to call it that, for everybody. So this would be pure act, something that contributes to the natural way of doing things.
And this is why Richard, Dr. Keppe, in this book, exactly in this book, he starts to speak about scalar energy as the source of life being emitted by God, by a divine being, and to whom we should be connected. And when we reject this, and so this rejection is very important to understand in our lives, and also, for example, in arts. So when we reject these elements, what do we have? We have illness. We get sick. We have already talked about that. For example, if a person is anguished, angry, or I don't know, lives in panic with all these feelings, these negative emotions, they are like a way to block the natural flow of this energy in our body. So this is something that we can perceive in our daily life. For example, when at work, when we have maybe a fight with a workmate, or in the family, or any kind of situation, or when we we nourish these negative feelings or thoughts.
Exactly this.
And this can also happen in arts, when, for example, arts represent violence. Just to present violence doesn't give any kind of doesn't make this so-called dialectic. What's the point of showing this violence? Or what's the point of this provocation? Because, okay, in arts, you can also have some provocations, but for what? What's the point? The relevant point for our lives that can bring us...
Advertising understands this, right? Advertising wants to do things more and more shocking in order to sell products, to catch your attention. You go, whoa, but what's that? Right? And, okay, so this is the shock value. But for what purpose? To sell products, to make you more intrigued by what's going on there, instead of trying to communicate about what's happening. I think about this a lot, Fabrizio. What is why are we here? What is the purpose of our life? Art, like everything in life, should be connected to that. When we were talking last week about government, good government should be connected to the essential values of life. It should feed the human being, not take away. And food is like that. You should eat food that nurtures your body. You should have thoughts that nurture you. Art, aesthetics should nurture, should provide some solace for the human being in this crazy world we live in. A reminder of who we are, what we're doing here. This is what we should be doing in life. And even our relationships should be a reminder that love exists, that there's purpose in life, that we have our families and we have these really valuable, important things. This is the purpose of all this. Not just for a sort of self-satisfaction, but to develop our lives, to help us to contribute in some way. Art should be like this. Beauty. This is my idea, anyway. I don't know if I think Dr. Keppe's talked about that too, but
this is why, for example, Dr. Keppe always speaks, look, arts are the link between the physical world and the metaphysical transcendental world. Yeah. Willing to say that, for example, art should help us, like as you said, to nurture, to get this energy from inside, and not to get exhausted or lose energy after a rave party, 3 days.
Totally
what I mean.
Waste.
Totally. This is what's the point of that also? I mean, we are not against if the people having fun or something like that, but this is important to really think over. Felipe, let's go.
Next one. There are 2 levels of existence. An inferior one that results from rejection of pure act, when the individual falls from act to the material sphere. And here, I guess, act would be the spiritual, pure action. We fall from there into a strictly material level.
And we can also interpret this idea of action, of act, the pure action, like something that we do in order to transmit what we should capture, grasp above, this goodness into the material world. But when we are when we debase, when we just focus the material life, the material sphere, what happens? Instead of receiving this energy, we are kind of blocking this flow. And so this is something that can happen in our day by day. For example, when we only think about the food that I will eat, which restaurant. Well, now it's not possible to go to restaurants, but anyway. So the restaurants that I can go, where I can go, or any kind of thing. So the fun that I can have, the sex I can have in life, the money I can get. So it looks like a very big and wide perspective of life. In fact, Dr. Keppe says this is a very, 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 very little part. This material, sensory life is a very little part of our incredible life that is basically the spiritual one.
Yeah, because if you think about those meaningful relationships in your life that you have, when you reflect on those, if somebody close to you dies or gets sick, or you start to reflect on your life. You're reflecting on those aspects of your life that are more profound than why didn't I buy a bigger house? You know, you're thinking, you may think about those things too, but you're thinking about, what is my purpose in life? Why am I here? What was the value of my relationship with my father, my mother, my brothers? Well, you know, what you're reflecting on those more internal aspects of your life, not just the, you know, oh, I really love my brother. We have the same taste in clothes. You know, that's not what you're thinking. You think about, I love my brother. My brother brings interesting ideas. He plays interesting music for me. We have interesting experiences. I was having a conversation with my brother about how both of us like melancholy music. It's a very sort of Anglo-Saxon thing, music of melancholic music, melancholia. No? We both like that. And I was asking him, what do you think about that? Isn't that interesting? And he said, wow, I never thought about that before. And we had this really interesting conversation about that. But it's not a material thing. It has more nuances, you know. It's a deeper levels of understanding. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Do you understand what I'm talking about?
Of course I understand.
You're Italian, you get that. It's
absolutely
very interesting, that, isn't it?
Yeah, because this is why, for example, music can be melancholic, can be happy, doesn't matter.
Yeah, sure.
These are like introspective, we can say introspective aspects of our life. They belong to our inner life and also outer life. So it's very nice to have this kind of relationship with people with a, let's say, I'd like to say a higher quality of relationship than only, okay, let's drink a beer together. Okay, this can be fun. But relationship that can bring so many rich elements that can help us to grow. And arts can be, in this sense, a way to get together and have a very nice moments in our life.
Yeah, and you know, in our language classes, we have these conversations with people speaking in a second language. I have conversations with you, my students, that I don't have with my family and friends in Canada because of this spiritual quality that you bring to the classroom. This is where the real dynamic happens, not in the prepositions and the phrasal verbs and all that stuff. Oh my God! It comes in the deeper levels of understanding, you know, where we're exploring things. This is a beautiful quality in our classroom. I like this a lot.
Yes, Felipe, let's go on.
In our old classroom.
No, back. Go back. So this is two levels of existence, but the individual can fall, from act to the material sphere. So we can see that, for example, also in art, there is this consciousness. I have some examples of this. Let's see the next. This is a gluttony, gula, the gluttony by Hieronymus Bosch. Incredible painter of the Renaissance,
Fantastic.
And it's actually very modern, I'd like to say, His painting, it's like out of time and space. Doesn't have. You can say that he's a painter from the Renaissance, And you see how the painters they get the details. Like, for example, in the center of the painting, there is this fat man eating, this kind of greed also to have like trying to fulfill some wishes through food, and this is something that actually belongs to the three phases of neurosis discovered by Ferenczi. It was a psychiatrist from Hungary that worked with Sigmund Freud. So the painter, they didn't know the three phases: the oral phase, where the adults are attached to food or wine, alcohol. Or talking a lot. Like I talk a lot. I talk a lot. So, and. But they had this perception. So you see how science is showing, like, for example, what arts already showed. Because it's the same, the principles that you can see.
You know what's interesting in this one? Look at the little child trying to get food from the father. Well, I guess it's the father who won't give him food. Like, no. This is my, and the kid going, please, can I have some chicken? No, this is for me, right? So there's a type of voracity.
Yeah.
I have to have more. They did a survey, I think it was recently, with billionaires, and different levels of billionaires. One guy who had 1 billion, another guy who had 10 billion, and they said to each of them, how much money would make you happy? And every one of them said double. So I have 1 billion, I want 2 billion. I have 10 billion, I want 20 billion. It's like a type of neurosis to have more, to dominate, to consume. We're consuming the planet because of this problem that Hieronymus Bosch is showing in this. How many hundreds of years ago was this painting?
Yeah, it was like 15th, in the beginning of the 16th century.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, a long time ago.
Yeah,
it's like 5 centuries, 500 years ago.
Yeah.
He's showing a problem of the human being that we have today. We haven't conscientized this problem.
And this is so interesting, Richard, because he was like portraying the gluttony, one of the 7 the sins. And you see, for example, people eating, the guy on the right, drinking, alcohol. So as I told you before, science with like Freud and Ferenczi, they brought this element also about neurosis in science. But so you see the importance of the work of Dr. Keppe in this sense, that brings all these 3 aspects together. Theology, for example, theology like Bosch did.
Yeah.
And then we have philosophy, because anyway...
A philosophy of life,
yes, the way we behave is showing our philosophy of life. Sure. And the third element is science altogether. So you can see how arts can put these 3 elements together. Yeah?
Extraordinary,
don't you
Ooh.
think? Let's see the next.
Okay, so we have this material, we fall to the material plane, and then Dr. Keppe said, or there's a superior level, wherein the person lives in accordance with being, which bears the affective, artistic, and transcendental values, which brings those,
This is what we
we're
have
talking
just
about.
said, we were talking about.
We took 1 hour to say what he said in 1 sentence.
Yeah. Yes. It's okay, next, sorry.
I believe that this distinction makes it possible for us to characterize the person who struggles against life and the one who accepts it.
This is so interesting, Richard, because, for example, we are talking about arts, but let's bring this also to our day by day. So there are 2 different kinds of people. Of course, this distinction is not so evident. It's not like, okay, you have the good ones and the bad ones. We have different degrees of, let's say, neurosis until suffering from psychosis. But what is important is to see that the people that denies, like, debase his life to this sensory level, like we saw in this example of gluttony, for example. Only lives for this. So, and what about the spiritual life? What about the universe of feelings? What about the universe of good actions? What I can do for the others that can help the others to live a better life. Doesn't matter what I do as a teacher, as an employee, I don't know, wherever we are, we should like have this kind of attitude, Richard.
Yes.
So I think this is important to understand. And so how arts can help us to get conscious of these elements. So you see that art is not just a painting on a wall, but it's much more than this. Yeah. It's something that brings us to think about a philosophy of life.
Makes us think, doesn't it? Yeah, that's nice, Fabrizio.
Don't you think, guys? If you want to send some comments, it's interesting to...
Always interesting to see what you're thinking.
To see what you think about, How much we can consume
until we get a hangover. Yeah, how much we can consume until we wake up the next day with a hisaka, hangover. Or we go, we sit down and say, oh my God, I'll never eat again. this lie that we tell ourselves.
Well, the answer, I don't know who is writing this, but the answer is in yourself.
Well,
you have the answer inside.
Sure.
Anyway. Yeah. Okay, let's go with the next. If you have any comments, send us, then we will.
Just keep commenting. We love that.
So,
the former, the material, the anterior, the former is a neurotic individual attached to the sensory levels of existence. Well, we talked about that already.
So let's see again.
Oral, 3 levels now. Oral, referring to those who value the immediate pleasures of food and drink. Garrulous and dependent individuals.
I like this adjective,
garrulous. Garrulous. It's really. I think I've never used that word in my life, probably.
But in Portuguese, I think it's tagarela. They like to talk a lot.
Yeah.
It's okay. So let's go on. So we say this is the oral. Why oral? It's okay. This is now science, according also to this painting. Oral because in these phases of neurosis, people are attached to the satisfaction of immediate pleasures. Coming from what? From food, for example, as we can see here, or from alcohol, as we can see here, and also other elements, as Dr. Keppe explained, like people that like to talk too much, gossiping.
Yeah. If he were painting this today, we'd have everybody on a cell phone, right? Everybody be on a cell phone. Nobody would be talking to anybody. They'd just be looking at the cell phone, right?
Yes.
So if he was painting that today, we'd see that. Instead, we have these medieval elements. But if it were a modern one, you'd see cell phone towers and, all of that paraphernalia.
Yeah. Next.
Anal, typical of those who are interested mainly in material wealth. There's a lot of that in the world today.
So let's see. Here, that's an incredible painting of Bruegel, Peter Bruegel, yeah?
Greed, ganancia.
Yes, greed, ganancia. So you can see that, for example, if you have a look to this painting, in the center we have a woman, probably looks like a queen, maybe, yeah. Putting her hand in
the chest for money.
For money, yeah. But with this pose, like a noble pose, etc. Yeah. But what happens all around this? What do you see all around this? This is an incredible painting. You see what?
Look. There's a guy who is constantly feeding the chest with more money. Yeah. She has bags of money all around her. In the forefront here, we have a guy looking through a bag of money, right? Everything related to money. Meanwhile, in the real world, there are people with war, people starving, no food, and nobody's paying attention to that because I'm only interested in money.
So on the right, you can see this very well. People suffering, being tortured, getting sick, and everything around on fire, so burning. So you see that this is incredible, Peter Bruegel, and he was also from the Renaissance as Bosch. They were, I think, contemporary painters.
Wow.
Great. What is happening today, guys? What is happening today? Isn't it totally like exactly what is going on today on our planet? Is there anything different from that painting?
I read a story one time or I saw a quote one time of somebody who was a big industrialist in the early part of the 20th century, early 1900s, right? And he said he used to go to the church, and the whole time during the church he was thinking, how can I make more money? What can I do? How can I, so he's in the church, the time when we have an opportunity to have a more spiritual connection, and he's thinking about his business life, right? And doesn't this happen to us a lot? It's very difficult for us to increase our vibration, to enter into these more holy aspects. We start to pray or to think or to read something good, and our mind starts to wander. Oh my God, I need to get some new shoes. That's right. And it's very difficult for us to maintain a higher vibration in our modern world. Very difficult. We have become very, very material. Yeah. We really have, all of us.
So this materialism, Richard, is a way to, how do you say, to diminish our energy, our capacity also to be fed by this energy coming from outside.
So we stop living. We're not living fully. That's what Fabrizio was saying. You know, we think that through the sensory aspects, we're going to have this really rich, fantastic life. There are so many women. There are so many guitars. There are so many things.
Talking about guitar.
Yes. You know, we have this idea that that's going to be like an expansive world. And actually what we're doing is we're dying. We're reducing our energy to the point where we're in a entropia.
If you see, for example, what is going on today in our days, these days, what's happening? Again, I repeat because I have already said, but I think it's important. What are the consequences of this civilization? We are like at home in prison. We can like just go anywhere. Yeah. So.
The only response we have is physical.
Yeah.
The only response we have is face masks, social distancing, alcohol, and staying. That's it. We don't have anything more elevated than that to help us with this, whatever it is that's going on in the world. That's it. Social distancing. Don't hug your grandmother. Come on.
And for example, people...
Pathetic.
Yeah, people losing their jobs. Do you remember? Let's go back to the painting. So, again, you see the poverty, the misery around. Yeah. Isn't it what happens today?
Yeah.
Because anyway, we live in a city, São Paulo, that have also very beautiful, regions of the city, also rich. But if we go a little bit out from the city, it's not like that. Yeah, so this is important to understand that this is the result of our civilization. So something is going wrong.
Something's wrong.
Art should also help us to get conscious of this, because you understand that when we start thinking about that, we start thinking, but where is the origin of the problem? Where does this problem come from? All right, and this is also why, for example, this kind of art is not promoted today, because it makes people think about life, makes people think about consciousness of what's going on.
Yeah, the more important aspects of life than food and...
Yeah. Next, let's go on. So this is a detail, but we can skip it, so because we have already...
Next one. And the third phase is this genital phase found in the narcissistic, egocentric person who's divorced from reality, thinking, me, me, me. Right?
And the characteristic of this phase are people attached to sexual life, very narcissistic,
how's my hair?
Yeah, well, what about my muscles? Look at my muscles are very...
You see guys at the gym, watching themselves in the mirror.
Right. Oh. Look at Rachel. Look at.
Yeah.
So this is something. Very narcissistic people. Yeah. Let's show. And I took as an example this beautiful painting of Caravaggio. Narciso in Italian is Narciso, the narcissistic person. Yeah, it's so beautiful. He's so enchanted. This is the myth of how do you say in English, Narciso?
Narcissus.
Narcissus. This is the myth of Narcissus. He got so enchanted with himself, with his beauty, whatever, that he fell into the water and drowned.
And what is not shown in this is that there was a woman who loved him. Beautiful woman named Echo, and she was trying to have contact with him all the time, but he had not. Get out of here! Didn't even see her. Right, so in love with himself. Yeah, this is the image of narcissism, right? That we see in the world. That lots of narcissistic personalities.
So me, myself, and I.
Yeah. What's in it for me?
Yeah.
What are you going to do for me?
Yeah.
I'm talking to you, but I'm looking at that person who's more important. So, what am I spending time with you for? I have to, this kind of mentality. What can I get? Where can I benefit? And everything is seen in the world. So Fabrizio says something, and I say, no, I don't agree with that. or, yeah, that's right, based on what I think. You know, this is the idea. This is the way we are in our modern world.
So we are, each one of us is the reference of the universe.
Yeah,
that's it. Like little God, this, what Dr. Keppe calls the theomania. Yeah, let's go. Now we have a TV program where Dr. Keppe is very important. This TV program because Dr. Keppe explains a little bit about this inversion of the three phases dominating what? The psychological life, the spiritual life that we were talking about, and how also art, but in this case not painting, but literature, brings us back to these values. So let's listen.
Veja no cartaz aí o que eu coloquei, que por causa da inversão, a inversão é a questão da inveja, que o próprio Freud falou, Melanie Klein seguiu, felizmente, com muita genialidade, e baseado na questão da inveja, né? Invidere, quer dizer, não ver. Na inveja a pessoa não vê mais o que devia ver, não só o mal que faz, mas principalmente o bem que tem. O ser humano está num mundo incrível, num mundo maravilhoso, num mundo que tem tudo o que ele poderia querer, mesmo no interior dele. E ele não quer ver isso. Por quê? Por causa dessa questão da inveja, mania de grandeza, soberba, por causa da raiva, desses elementos todos que ele começou a ter. E veja novamente no cartaz que a inversão, né, provocada pela inveja, leva mais a viver a vida sensorial. E o que é a vida sensorial? É a oralidade, não é? Drogas, bebidas, alimentos, é a analidade, o dinheiro, o poder, a destruição, e a genitalidade, que é o sexo, o prazer e a alienação, que domina a verdadeira vida que é lá embaixo, lá, o amor, a razão, a estética, que é a vida psíquica, destruindo o mundo atual. Então é por causa disso que surgiram na civilização, e veja bem que a civilização nossa vale pelos grandes talentos e pessoas capazes que o mundo teve. E uma das pessoas mais admiráveis é essa que eu vou colocar aí, Thomas More. Ele era deputado lá na Câmara dos Comuns, na Inglaterra, e ele era muito brincalhão, né? E ele foi degolado pelo rei lá, porque ele era bastante santo, ele foi degolado e ele tinha escrito a utopia. A utopia não é bem uma vida que o ser humano não pode ter. Ele está na utopia, quer dizer, imaginando uma vida que não existe. A verdadeira vida foi a que Thomas More fez. Assim como Francis Bacon também, um outro autor, mais ou menos dessa época, que escreveu sobre a Nova Atlântida, o mundo ideal. E o Aldous Huxley escreveu o admirável Mundo Novo. Então veja que muitas pessoas têm no interior contato ainda com esse mundo incrível, que seria o mais verdadeiro, vamos dizer, o mundo mais próximo da imortalidade do que é realmente eterno.
Então, Dr. Keppe, essa ideia do Thomas More e desses autores, eles estariam tentando colocar esse perene, o eterno aqui, no aqui e agora, neste mundo, nesta vida.
Isso.
Yeah, Thomas More, Anglo-Saxonical.
Well, he was an incredible man.
Yeah, and Francis Bacon, those guys brought a lot of value.
This is interesting because you see that how artists and people were connected also in the past to these universal values. And Dr. Keppe makes it very clear that they brought this aspect, they are the truest aspect, the closest to our eternal life, our immortality. So, and we consider that these aspects like as a utopia, something that really is a fantasy, something that it belongs to
no chance to have.
But when we get in touch with these elements, we feel good, isn't it, guys?
Yeah.
So.
And why? because we have a memory of that. We know that that is the world that we should be living in, right? We're trying to get back to that in our very clumsy way, but this is what the journey of the human being is to return to the paradise. This is what we're trying to do, and Dr. Keppe's work is the best way I know to help us to get there.
Yeah. So let's see the last two slides. So the second person, we were talking about the materialistic person.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
now the other person, the latter, the person who accepts life, is considered the mature person because he has embraced pure act and accepts his role in the effective, artistic, and non-material world. Role is papel, no? Yeah.
I like this idea in the affective and artistic. Dr. Keppe has been insisted about this idea of the importance of love. People that don't love, they are not really in touch with this eternal love. But it's not love in the sense of hugging or kissing somebody. This is not the point. Love through what? Through actions. Yeah. So this is so a beautiful thing. To perceive that sometimes in life we live this life without really loving life, loving what we do, loving the others. So I think it's a very important point. Let's see a last example. This is for Richard to explain, because I'm thinking about these painters and artists that are in touch with this dimension of life. I was thinking about Van Gogh, isn't it?
Wow. And how he shows here nature, the heavens, as enormous, and the human world is very small. The tree is enormous. The houses are very small. So he's saying here that nature, the universe, the world of God, of eternity, is enormous and interesting and full of energy. And our world is very secondary in this sense, right? It's very passageiro, as you say in Portuguese. Yeah. But this universal, transcendental world lives forever, full of energy, power.
And this is so amazing, Richard, the way he grasps the energy. Because, for example, he paints the sky with spirals. Yeah. That is the movement, the manifestation of energy, spirals and circles. Yeah. So Van Gogh, probably, I don't know if it was conscious or not, but he got this movement of life, of energy. Yeah. So it's so beautiful, this painting.
And preserved it for us, even knowing nobody was probably going to buy his paintings. He painted hundreds of them. Thank God we have this artistic spirit to create with no intention of a material gain, just to produce, to show. Thank God we have this man. It's another mentality, isn't it? Yeah. We tend to think of the artist as being a dreamer out of reality, much closer to reality in this sense, because he's painting something of beauty, of goodness for eternity, without concern for the material aspect of it, you know.
And considering that anyway, the material aspect is as divine as the transcendental, because there is no separation, but the transcendental is above.
Superior.
Okay, and the superior, and the material is a consequence, of course. Okay, so I think Richard, what about, let's go to the songs, Felipe.
Let's sing some songs.
We tried to sing some songs.
Our Friday sing-along, and this one, you will probably be able to sing easily because it's not a difficult song. Well, it's not an easy song to sing, but it's not a difficult song to learn. So let's try it together, okay? You guys can join us. It'd be so great if we could actually hear your voices.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So it's okay. Anyway,
we'll imagine them.
Imagine you are at least singing in the shower. Okay. So let's go. Listen to the music by the Doobie Brothers.
Here, nobody is judging you.
No. And please don't judge us. Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Don't you feel it growing day by day? People get ready for the news. Some are happy, some are sad. Whoa, now mama, let that music play. What the people need is a way to make them smile. Ain't so hard to do if you know how. Gotta get a message, get it on through. Oh, now mama, don't you ask me why. Whoa, whoa, listen to the music. Whoa, whoa, listen to the music. Whoa, whoa, listen to the music all the time. Yeah.
Let's go.
When I know, you know, baby, everything I say. Meet me in the country for a day. We'll be happy and we'll dance. Come on, darling, dance our blues away. And if I'm feeling good to you and you're feeling good to me, there ain't nothing we can't do or say. Feeling good, feeling fine. Come on, darling, let myself unwind. Whoa, whoa, listen to the music. Whoa, whoa, listen to the music. Whoa, whoa, listen to the music all the time. Like a lazy flowing river, surrounding castles in the sky. And the crowd is growing bigger. They're listening for the happy sounds. We got to let them fly. Whoa, whoa, listen to the music. Whoa, whoa, listen to the music. Whoa, whoa, listen to the music all the time. One more time. Whoa, whoa, listen to the music. Whoa, whoa, listen to the music. Whoa, whoa, listen to the music all the time. Yeah. Oh man. That make you feel happy? It makes
You're
me feel-
happy? You're happy?
All right, I hope you like that, guys. That was pretty, very nice. So now we're going to do what some people have considered a love song, but Sting, who wrote the song, said this is a song about paranoia. But let's treat it as a love song, okay? It's Every Breath You Take. I think you'll know this one too.
All right. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Every breath you take, every move you make, every bond you break, every step you take, I'll be watching you. Every single day, every word you say, every game you play, every night you stay, I'll be watching you. Oh, can't you see you belong to me? How my poor heart aches with every step you take, every move you make, every vow you break, every smile you fake, every claim you stake, I'll be watching you. Since Since you're gone, I've been lost without a trace. I dream at night, I can only see your face. I look around, but it's you I can't replace. I feel so cold and I long for your embrace. Keep crying, baby, baby, please. Oh, can't you see you belong to me? How my poor heart aches with every step you take, every move you make, every vow you break, every smile you fake, every claim you stake. I'll be watching you. Every move you make, every step you take, I'll be watching you. I'll be watching you.
Every breath you take,
Every move you make, every bond you break,
every
I'll
step
be watching
you take,
you.
every single day,
Every word you say, every game you play,
every
I'll be
night you
watching
stay,
you.
every move you make,
Every vow you break, every smile you fake,
every
I'll be
claim you
watching
stake,
you.
every single day,
Every word you say, every game you play,
every
I'll
night
be
you
watching
stay,
you.
every breath you take,
Every move you make, every bond you break,
every
I'll
step
be
you
watching
take,
you.
every single day,
Every word you say, every game you play, I'll be watching you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Great fun.
And
Talk
hope
to
to
you next
see
time.
you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.